Step 5, surround yourself with the right support. Picture for a moment that you have decided to radically change your diet. You have done a lot of research, you hired a nutritionist, and you might even have a health coach. Now, imagine the reactions of your friends and loved ones when you announce that you are no longer going to be eating the way they do. Your partner will be the one most affected because in order for you to maintain your diet, you can't be tempted by the foods that you know aren't good for you. Your family and friends might be less affected directly unless they live with you, but they might also have a lot of discomfort. First of all, this new way of eating makes it really hard for them to figure out what to serve for dinner parties. Second of all, they feel judged for not also eating the way you are now. Regardless of these concerns and feelings, ask yourself this. Given what you already know about who your partner, friends, and family are, what would their reactions and behaviors be if you did go on this new diet? Would they take the time to learn how they can support you better, or would they try to talk you out of it? If you shared information with them about the evidence for the choice you're making, would they read it or dismiss it and insist you go talk to a real expert? If you asked your partner not to bring certain foods home, would they listen or would you find those things stashed in the cupboards? If your family members or friends invited you to dinner, could you count on them to also provide meals that you could actually eat, or would they shrug off your concerns and tell you that it won't actually hurt to break your diet just this once? The reason I'm asking you this is because who you surround yourself with during your pregnancy and even as you raise your children can either support what you are already doing or undermine your efforts. Take another example. You have decided you want to breastfeed, but no one in your family has done it. Eventually, your baby hits a growth spurt and is nursing around the clock. There's no schedule and you are so tired. How will your family support your efforts to breastfeed and get the rest you need? I'm sorry to tell you, but most of the time what happens is that people will tell you to just give a bottle. I had a lot of well-meaning relatives and even a few friends tell me to keep a can of formula on hand just in case I couldn't breastfeed. I see the same advice being given to first-time moms who express intentions to breastfeed in the mom groups. This advice is not helpful. It's given to basically say, oh, it's okay if you fail at what you want, and it's too hard anyway, so you might as well plan your exit strategy now because you will definitely need it when things don't work out. As a first-time mom, you're going to have enough people out there telling you what you can and can't do. You'll constantly have your confidences undermined. People love to click their tongues and wag their fingers and warn you that your expectations are too high and too unrealistic. Many tried and failed because they didn't know what they didn't know, and they simply listened to the same bad advice and got the same bad information. When you've been there and gotten out of your own trauma enough to see what happened clearly, it's easier to map out the paths and traps to avoid. But when you're doing it for the first time, you often don't realize that what other people say you can't do comes from their beliefs, not yours. The truth is, you won't know what you're capable of if you never try. If you give up before you even start, you won't see how far you can get. Birth and parenting is not a one-size-fits-all experience. Even if you do it a second, third, or fourth time, you'll learn something new each time you do it. This is why it is crucial that you choose your people wisely. If your partner is scared, they need to get past that. If your partner is unsure, they need to learn to trust that you know what you need. If your family is trying to convince you that the kind of birth you want isn't possible, you need to find a way to block those messages. Learn how to set a boundary with them now, and when your baby is 6 months old and exclusively breastfeeding, then Aunt Karen won't be slipping them bottles and mashed baby foods the moment your back is turned. Recognize that even though you have never done this before, you are 100% equipped to grow, birth, and raise this baby your way. You define what that looks like. You get to decide whether you introduce bottles, whether you sleep train, whether you do timeouts, whether your kid gets lots of screens or no screens, and basically everything that you will ever need to make a decision on for the next 18 years. What does the right support look like? That's up to you. Some people find it helpful to hear the concerns of their family and friends, and others would rather everyone just shut up and trust that they know what they're doing. Even the words you want to hear might be unique. Take, for example, "You've got this." For some moms, this can reaffirm that they have everything they need, but others find it dismissive to their fears and concerns. The key is in knowing how certain phrases affect you so that you can communicate it to the people closest to you and give them the right expressions that will have you feeling safe, heard, and validated in your feelings. Ultimately, your goal with the right support is to feel that other people have your back and can hold space for you to explore your feelings, not push their own agenda on you. And that leads to journal exercise 1.5. Again, go to empoweringmomsbirth.com/extras and you'll get the full list. Now it's time to pull out your journal again. Think about the kind of pregnancy, birth, postpartum, and parenting experience you want to have. And ask yourself, number 1, how do you want to feel when talking to your loved ones about your birth plans? Number 2, what would you like to hear them say to you? Number 3, what would you like them to do for you if you feel you need help or support? Number 4, what words and phrases do you absolutely not want to hear? Number 5, what would you like to hear instead? Number 6, who in your circle of family and friends is the most supportive? Number 7, who is someone you might want to limit time with due to their negativity? Number 8, how can you communicate to your partner what you need from them? And number 9, if you had the ultimate level of support from your partner, what would that look like? What would they say and do for you? And how would you feel? Congratulations. You've just done the hard work of figuring out exactly what you most need for your empowered birth. Notice how none of it focused on actual details of the kind of birth you were planning, but instead on how you want to feel and be supported. This is because your birth plan is far too unique and the possibilities are endless. There are no limits to what you can have in your birth. And as a first-time mom, you might not know where to start. This is why I encourage you to take advantage of the resources listed at the back of this book, as it will help you see what's possible and give you some ideas on what you might like in your birth experience. I also encourage you to create your birth plan immediately after you finish this book. Now that you have the 5 pillars of empowered birth, it will be even easier to see the path you want to take. I've created a simple mini course that you can access by going to empoweringmomsbirth.com/extras. In the next chapter, we will talk a bit about what happens when you lose your power in your birth or when things don't go to plan. I encourage you to read this chapter, even if this is your first pregnancy, because I cannot guarantee that something won't come up for you. The reality is that you might wind up having a true complication, however rare. And in that case, your plans may need to change. Birth is unpredictable, and the tools in this book can help you avoid most of the common traps that lead to unnecessary intervention. But it can't prevent a complication from happening because sometimes it's just unavoidable. My best friend Jenny knows this all too well, as she had chronic hypertension, high blood pressure, and that had been one of her main concerns as she went through her pregnancy. The first time she didn't know what to expect, and unfortunately, she made a lot of the same mistakes first-time moms make. She hired the wrong doctor, chose the wrong hospital, and didn't understand the political game in our maternity care system. As a result, she was pressured into induction without any discussion of the risks or alternative methods she could try. She then developed complications in labor due to an allergy to Pitocin and wound up having an emergency cesarean. The second time Jenny got pregnant, she had one thing she didn't the first time: me. This isn't to brag, but it was our friendship that helped her heal, because I was able to draw from my hundreds of hours of learning and listening in the birth community to help her make sense of what happened to her. I was able to show her exactly where she had fallen into a trap, or the subtext of what had been happening between her and her midwife and the on-call OB that manipulated and threatened her. This is the kind of insight that comes after hearing story after story of traumatic births and from piecing together the evidence gleaned from books, medical journals, articles, and experiences shared by midwives and doulas. It came from my own birth experience, as well as my deeper understanding of psychology and what I learned about research and critical thinking. It was in combining all of these things that I was able to see the patterns and create the map, and then test it out with my own birth of my second child. When Jenny came to me, the map was completed. The next chapter will give you a deeper insight, and it's especially important if you are planning to become pregnant again in the future. Even if your birth goes well, there might be one or two things that will stand out for you where you think, that could have gone better. As I said, you'll learn something new each time. So if you're ready, let's see what you can look forward to in the future. And that is where we stop. So again, if you love this and you want more, all you have to do is go and get Your Empowered Birth off of Amazon. Or if you want to go deeper, I do have a course. It's called Your Empowered Birth Workshop. I'll tell you about that later. This goes into the overview of how to get past your fear. It helps you understand about the right education, so you understand what true natural birth looks like versus what it looks like in the medical system. I show you the induction traps and how not to fall into them, as well as help you to understand what you need to do in creating your birth plan. Remember, there is a birth plan mini course that you can go and get at empoweringmomsbirth.com/extras. And then in addition to that, you would also learn about a little bit about the advocacy skills inside of my workshops. I ran this system way back in 2021 with Jenny as the one helping me, because she had gone through her first pregnancy. And afterwards, she's like, how do I take your classes? And I didn't have any at the time, but now I do. I have the Empowered Birth Method. I have Your Empowered Birth Workshop. I have Your Empowered Birth Academy. I have other courses as well. If you have any questions about that or what's on offer currently, because as I said, like, this is going to be out there. I don't know what the future holds. I know that I'm going to have more courses. Some things might be discontinued from when I first ran this program. Reach out to me at hello@empoweringmomsbirth.com. Ask your questions. One of my Empowered Birth ambassadors or myself will help you in figuring out where your next steps are. And make sure you are doing these exercises, because if you're not doing the journal exercises, you're not really thinking in the way that you need to get out of your fear and start planning your true natural birth experience and get that birth you want the first time. And if you're a second time mom, well, stay tuned, because the next video, I'm going to be sharing chapter 7, how to get the birth you want the next time, which is all about healing and recovering from birth trauma or from a disappointing birth experience, and planning your birth to reclaim that beautiful birth experience that you deserved, just like I did with my daughter and just like my clients have done, because I tend to work with women who have already had those traumatic experiences. They've already been tricked once or twice, sometimes 3 times, and then they go on and they reclaim their power. So this is very powerful. Thank you so much, though, for watching. If you found value in this, please pay it forward. Like, share, subscribe, pass this on to other moms. Tell them about Your Empowered Birth. Get that information out there. And if you do feel called, please pick up a copy of Your Empowered Birth and support the Empowered Birth movement and what we're really trying to create. The proceeds are going towards putting food on the table for my kids, but also in building more projects, more birth houses, more birth locations for moms who want to have that out of hospital experience, but don't want the restrictions that come with being in a birth center. They want to maybe have that freedom and autonomy. So even if they go past 42 weeks, they don't risk out. You can't risk out of a space that you're renting for yourself. And that's where the Birth House Network really comes into play. Again, if you want to know anything about that or help our movement, just reach out to me, hello@empoweringmomsbirth.com. One of my Empowered Birth Ambassadors or myself will be there to support you. All right. I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much. Bye.